Okay, we're going to be looking at working on some right triangle trig. So here's some notes that we're going to go through the first three sections in this recording. Okay, you'll notice that the majority of your homework for this trig unit is going to follow these notes. So I've tried to use the same terminology. So for example, section 1 is trig ratio. Okay, so if you open trig A homework, that's the concept, making trig ratios. Okay, so I want to talk to you about sine, cosine, and tangent. So we did those notes a few days ago, but we're going to use the phrase SOHCAHTOA to remind us of our definitions for sine, cosine, and tangent. Okay, so S stands for sine. So sine of an angle measure is O is opposite over H is hypotenuse. Okay, C stands for cosine. Cosine is the adjacent side divided by the hypotenuse. And then tangent is the opposite side divided by the adjacent side. Okay, so it's going to be very important that we can tell the difference between an opposite side, a hypotenuse, and an adjacent side. Okay, so for number 1, we are just finding the trig ratio. Okay, so cosine of x. Well, I've highlighted x. So that's the angle from which you're going to use. Okay, so you got to like stand on x and you're using x perspectives. So let's go around and let's label the sides in accordance with where x is situated. Okay, the 40 is across from the right angle, so you know that that's the hypotenuse. Okay, it's also the longest side of your right triangle. Longest side is going to be the hypotenuse. Okay, the side that is next to x, that is not the hypotenuse, is your adjacent side. And then the one across from angle x is going to be the opposite side. Okay, so since we're doing cosine, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Okay, it's C-A-H. So cosine is adjacent and hypotenuse. So that ratio, I'm going to go cosine of angle x is the adjacent side, 32, over hypotenuse, 40. Now, if that fraction can be reduced, please do that. I can take out an 8, so it's going to reduce to 4/5. So cosine of x is 4/5. 4/5 is that ratio. Okay, number 2, tangent of C. Again, find where C is. Okay, you're standing on C. Find which side is your hypotenuse. It's the longest side. Also, it's across from the 90-degree angle. The other side that is next to angle C is the adjacent side, and then across from angle C is the opposite side. Okay, so this one we're doing tangent. Tangent of angle C is TOA, opposite. So the opposite side is 7 over the adjacent side, 24. Okay, 7 over 24. That can't be reduced, so that is where you're going to stay. Okay, now 3 and 4, same thing, same concept, except we're going to round to the nearest tenth. Okay, so we're going to turn it into a decimal basically. So sine of angle Z. So find angle Z. Again, this side is the hypotenuse. Okay, it's the longest side. It's across from the right angle. Across from angle Z is my opposite side. Next to angle Z is my adjacent side. So sine of angle Z is opposite side, 8 over hypotenuse, 17. Okay, it won't reduce, so just leave it like that. Oops, I forgot. Nearest tenth was what we were looking for. So you can just divide that on your calculator. So if I want to change that to a decimal, I'm just going to do 8 divided by 17, and that is a 0.47. So sine of angle Z is 0.47 approximately. If I round to the nearest tenth, it's going to be 0.5. Okay, so again, you're just setting up the ratio. Okay, this one's also a sine of A. So this time A is over here to the right. So from A's perspective, across from the right angle, there's your hypotenuse. Across from angle A is your opposite side. Next to angle A is your adjacent side. So sine of angle A is opposite side, which is the 18, compared to the hypotenuse, or divided by the hypotenuse, that is 30. And then we're going to change it to a decimal. So 18 divided by 30 is 0.6. So sine of A is 0.6. Okay, so you can write that as a ratio, a fraction simplified, or you can write it as a decimal. Okay, so what do those things tell us? Well, what it will do is we can find the angle measure. So you're going to do this on your calculator. Now, I have a graphing calculator app on my Chromebook, and you don't, okay? But you're going to have, it'll be similar on your scientific calculator. Okay, so here, sine of u is 3/4. So if I want to find what the angle measure is, I'm going to use what's called the inverse sine button. So it is sine to the negative first power and then of 3/4. So over here on your calculator, you'll notice that you have sine, cosine, and tangent buttons. Right here. Here's your sine. Okay, there's your sine, your cosine, and your tangent. You'll notice that in blue, it says that sine, it looks like a -1 as an exponent. That's called your inverse sine button. So what you're going to do is you're going to go second. So your second. And then you're going to do sine. Okay, so it gives that inverse sine button. And then I can go 3 divided by 4. Okay, now one thing I forgot to do is I need to be in degrees. Okay, so I need to change to degrees on this graphing calculator, but if you're working on a scientific calculator, most likely you're already in degrees. So I do the second sine, that gives me inverse sine, 3 divided by 4, and enter, and there's my angle measure. So this is going to be 48.59 degrees, or if we're going to go nearest degree, that would round to 49 degrees. Okay, so if we had a triangle set up, so I can kind of give you a little bit of an idea. So, okay, so let's say this was angle U. Angle U is opposite 3 over hypotenuse 4. Okay, so that's what that would look like. So this 49 degrees, that would be the measure of this angle U. Okay, if the angle U is 49 degrees, then you would have that relationship, that 3 to 4 relationship. Okay, so even if you're using a scientific calculator, it's going to be very similar. Okay, so number 6, do the same thing, but you're going to go second cosine, because you want inverse cosine. Okay, so you're going inverse cosine of -2 divided by 3. So -2 divided by 3, and enter, and you get 131.8 degrees, or it'd be 132 degrees. Okay, you can do the same thing with 7 and 8 as a decimal. That's fine, but you can still find that angle measure. So go inverse tangent of 0.2126. Again, so go second tangent 0.2126, and you get a 12-degree angle. Okay, then sine. So again, second sine, inverse sine, 0.3256. And you get 19 degrees. Okay. All right. Now, 9 and 10 are similar. Okay, so these, I already have the equation written out for you, and then you just had to use your calculator to find the angle measure. Okay, on 9 and 10, we need to set up the trig function first, and then we can go to our calculator. So if we want to find this angle right here, I'm just going to call it angle X. Okay, so look at what you have. Well, this side's the hypotenuse. This side is the adjacent. Okay, so if you're doing SOHCAHTOA, adjacent and hypotenuse, that's going to be cosine. That's going to be a cosine. So I'm going to write cosine of angle X is the adjacent side 4 over the hypotenuse 5. So there's your equation that you're solving. So now you're wanting to find that angle measure. You can go inverse cosine of 4 divided by 5. So I'm going to do that. So second cosine of 4 divided by 5. And you get about 36.9 degrees. 36.9 degrees, or nearest degree, 37 degrees. Okay. Okay, on number 10, same thing. So here's the angle I want. I'm going to call that angle X. Well, this here is the hypotenuse. Okay, so I don't know the hypotenuse, but I do know this adjacent side, and then the opposite side is this 171. Okay, so I know adjacent and opposite. So that's going to be a tangent statement. So tangent of X is opposite 171 over adjacent 49. So do your inverse tangent of 171 over 49. So second tangent 171 divided by 49, and you're going to equal 74 degrees. Okay. All right. I think, okay, these last two, same thing. But you'll notice what's different about these is you have all three sides. Okay, so you're going to be able to, you have enough information, you can pick whether you want sine, cosine, or tangent. Okay, so I've labeled my sides so I know which one's which. So let's say I want to do sine. Okay, well, sine of X is opposite 54 over hypotenuse 90. Okay, so I would go inverse sine of 54 divided by 90. Now that fraction will reduce, but you don't need to do that. That's an extra step that you don't need because your calculator will find that value either way. Okay, and so, oops, what do I have? Oh, I need 90. There we go. Okay, so 36.7 degrees. Okay, so 36.7 degrees. Okay, now if somebody else said, well, I don't want to do sine, I want to do cosine. Okay, so cosine of X, this cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So 72 over 90. So you're going to do inverse cosine of 72 over 90. Okay, so watch what happens. So I go second cosine of 72 divided by 90. And that is the same thing, 36 point, oh, it should be 0.7. It should be 0.9 degrees. This actually should be a 9, not a 7. Okay, so same angle measure. So I can use, since I have all three sides, I can use any trig function that I want. Okay, last one for this part of the lesson. Again, I can pick whatever I want to. If I want to do tangent of X on this one, it's going to be opposite, and then my adjacent side, and then do the same thing. So you have 55 opposite, 55 over 48.